Hello everyone, this is Jason from Primetime Aquatics, and in this video I wanted to talk about some really cool filters for a Betta tank. As some of you are aware, we've been doing a lot on Joanna's nano wall, and most of the fish tanks that have gone up on her wall have been relatively small, and they are for bettas. At this point I think she's got like 13 or 14 bettas. I've kind of lost track. But in this video, I wanted to talk about some of the filters that are really good for Betta tanks. Now, I'm going to make one assumption here, and that assumption is if you're keeping a Betta, often people are keeping it either by itself or with a very few number of fish, and that the tanks are relatively small. So we want a filter that's going to fit the unique needs of our bettas, at least the way that many people keep them, in smaller tanks, and something that's going to give us a relatively low flow, because the last thing we want is our betta with long fins to be blowing all around the tank and being exhausted by that. In fact, often if you see your betta at the bottom of the tank or stuck in plants and it's not coming out, it's not swimming around, one of the things we want to be looking at is how strong the flow is that's coming out of our filter. If it's too strong, they get exhausted, they don't want to swim around, sometimes they stop eating, and that can be really bad for your fish. So what are the two filters that I recommend? Well, let's take a look at this from a couple different perspectives. All right, so the first filter I would recommend, it's a hang-on back filter. It is this. It's the Forza 5 to 15. Now, we did a very detailed review on this filter. I will put that in the upper right-hand corner as well as in the description below, but I really like this filter. This is not a sponsored video. I like this filter for a couple of reasons. Let me put that down. Here is the actual filter itself. And so, one, it's small. And this is a great thing if you've got a Betta tank. Most Betta tanks are going to be on the relatively small side. So maybe you're in a minimum of 2.5 gallons, but a lot of people like the 5 gallons or maybe slightly larger. This is a great filter for that size tank. The other thing that's super important for this filter is this knob right here. It has an adjustable flow, and that is incredibly important for your Betta. We don't want to have a fish tank filter that is blowing your Betta all over the tank. Super important. If you're getting a hang-on back filter, make sure it has an adjustable flow. And this one is highly adjustable, and it has worked well on anything from 2.5 gallons up to 10 to 15 gallons. We've got them on some 10-gallon tanks. This is a great filter because full out, it will filter that size tank really well, but you can also adjust it down for the smaller tanks. It's been super reliable. And oh, by the way, it's one of the quietest hang-on back filters I have ever used in my life. Also, there is an intake sponge that you can get with these filters in case you want to do other things like maybe put shrimp in the tank and don't want them getting sucked in the intake. So they do come with a pre-filter sponge. At least they can. They make them for these things. So really, really great filter. Definitely a good option. The other option you have is this. And again, I know these are AquaTop branded, but they're really good filters. We've used these now in probably somewhere around 12 to 15 of our fish tanks. And this is a very tiny sponge filter. How tiny, you ask? Let me go ahead and take this filter out for you. Wait for it now. Look, watch this. Look how small that is. This is a very small filter. This is great because if you've got a smaller Betta tank, and so for instance, we set up some 2.5s, we set up some 5 gallons. We've got some interesting size tanks where we put this on I think it was a 3-gallon long and then a 2.3 gallon long tank. And this is a really great filter because it's not something super huge and it's going to fit in well with those smaller aquascapes. Now, to go along with this, you're going to want to have the right size pump. I highly recommend, if you're thinking about using a sponge filter on a smaller tank, make sure the pump that you get, the air pump that you get, has an adjustable flow. So I'm going to put a link to an air pump that I have not used it, but it gets really good reviews. It is an adjustable flow. I'll put that link in the description below. It's an Amazon affiliate link, but super important. If you're going to be using sponge filters on smaller tanks, make sure that you can adjust the flow, especially if you're going to be keeping bettas. Now, that's not a problem for us because we have one big, giant, large air pump that filters that powers the entire fish room. And then we can put in gang valves and we can adjust the amount of flow going into each tank. But short of that, if you're just using a pump, make sure it has an adjustable flow. So these are the two filters that I really like. And again, you can see them on a number of our tanks, anywhere from our 2.5 gallons to our 2-gallon longs. And we even have the hang-on back filter that's powering some of our 5-gallon and 10-gallon tanks. All right, everyone, I hope you found this video useful. Again, I just wanted to give you a couple really good options for your bettas where you're not going to be over filtering the tank and making the flow too strong. Very reliable. I will put the links down in the description below. If you found this video useful, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.